Did you know that in Brazil, someone can actually read their way out of prison? Yes, you heard that right, for days of freedom for every single book they complete. But behind this extraordinary policy is a world of hope, transformation, and redemption. Today, we read diving deep into one of the world's most fascinating prison reform programs, redemption through reading. Imagine a prison cell, gray walls, heavy silence, and time stretching into an empty void. Now, add one more thing to that picture, a book. A book that doesn't just offer an escape through imagination, but one that can physically open the gates to freedom. This isn't a scene from a movie. This is happening in Brazil right now. For decades, Brazil's justice system has struggled with two massive problems: severely overcrowded prisons and alarmingly high rates of reoffending. Experts proposed all sorts of solutions: more guards, more surveillance, stricter rules. But amidst all the noise, one question kept surfacing: what if the solution wasn't just more punishment, but more education? And from that question, the program known as Redemption Through Reading was born. It has a simple yet powerful policy. Inmates can shorten their sentences by 4 days for every approved book they read, up to a maximum of 48 days per year. But it is not as simple as just picking up a random book and flipping through the pages. The process is strict, structured, and taken very seriously. First, inmates must choose from a curated reading list. These aren't just easy, quick reads. The books come from approved categories like classic literature, science, philosophy, and history, texts designed to challenge their minds and broaden their perspectives. Once they've chosen a book, they're given a set time frame to read it, usually about a month. This requires real dedication, discipline, and genuine engagement with the material. They can't just skim it. But the real test, the part where the transformation truly begins, is what comes next. To qualify for the sentence reduction, the inmate has to write a handwritten essay. This essay is the heart of the program. It has to be a detailed summary, showing they truly understood the book. It must include personal reflections, clear explanations in their own words, and follow proper structure and grammar. This isn't just a book report, it's a deep dive into their own thoughts and feelings, prompted by what they've read. The essay is then reviewed by a special panel of teachers, psychologists, and educators. If it fails, the inmate gets no time off, but if it passes, they earn 4 days off their sentence. So, why books? Why reading? Because reading forces you to do things that prison life often destroys. Reflect, think critically, use your imagination, and practice discipline. Books can make a person question the choices that led them to prison in the first place. They can heal old wounds and help rebuild a sense of identity. In a world where many inmates grew up without proper schooling, this program offers something incredibly rare: an opportunity to grow intellectually and emotionally. Let's bring this to life with a story inspired by real events. Imagine a young man named Rafael. He grew up in a violent neighborhood, surrounded by crime. By the time he was 21, he was serving a 6-year sentence for armed robbery. For him, school had never made sense, and books were something that other people, smarter people, read. One day, a guard handed him a flyer about the reading program. Rafael almost laughed out loud. Me? Read a whole book? Impossible. The idea seemed ridiculous. But with nothing but time on his hands, he signed up anyway, mostly just to get out of his cell and maybe, just maybe, reduce his sentence. His first book was The Little Prince, a children's book on the surface, but one filled with deep, universal truths. As Rafael slowly made his way through the pages, something completely unexpected happened. He started reflecting on his own childhood, the decisions he'd made, and the dreams he had long forgotten. He saw himself in the Little Prince's journey, searching for meaning in a confusing world. Finishing the book wasn't easy, but he did it. Then came the essay. He wrote it by hand, slowly, sometimes painfully, struggling to find the right words to express what he was feeling. But when his essay was approved, he felt a surge of something he hadn't felt in years: pride. It wasn't just about the 4 days he'd shaved off his sentence, it was about accomplishment. For the first time in a long time, he believed in himself. Rafael went on to read 12 books that year. When he was finally released, he enrolled in a community college. Today, he works as a youth mentor, using his own story to help young people avoid the mistakes he made. All because of one book, one opportunity, and one system that dared to believe people can change. And Rafael's story isn't unique. The program has shown remarkable results across Brazil. Literacy rates inside prisons have skyrocketed, with many inmates learning to read and write properly for the very first time. Studies are beginning to show a reduction in recidivism, the rate at which people reoffend, because education is a powerful tool against a return to crime. The program also helps rebuild confidence and emotional stability, as writing essays forces inmates to process trauma and develop better communication skills. And as an added bonus, it creates more peaceful prison environments, as reading is proven to calm the mind and reduce conflicts. Of course, not everyone is a fan of the program. Critics argue that it's too lenient, that some inmates simply don't deserve the privilege of an early release. They worry that some might just be gaming the system, reading only for the reward without any real change. And they point out that monitoring the quality of every essay is a difficult, resource-intensive task. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that the benefits far outweigh the risks. They see it as a humane path to rehabilitation that transforms lives, encourages education, and ultimately reduces long-term crime rates, which costs society far less than keeping prisons overcrowded. Both sides raise valid points, but one fact remains undisputed. Education has always been one of the most powerful tools for changing a person's life. Ultimately, this program sends a powerful message, not just to inmates, but to all of us. It says that people are not defined by their worst mistakes. They are defined by how they choose to rise after they fall. These books give inmates something many of them never had growing up: guidance, hope, and a second chance. And sometimes, a second chance is all someone needs to completely rewrite their story. In the end, redemption through reading isn't just about reducing days spent in a cell. It's about giving people the tools to rebuild their minds, reshape their character, and reimagine their future. A book can't erase the past, but it can certainly help write a much better chapter for tomorrow. So the next time you pick up a book, take a moment to remember, somewhere in a Brazilian prison, someone else is reading too. Not just to pass the time, but to earn back their life, one page at a time. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in the power of a second chance. See you next time.